So in this video, I kind of just give an overall impression or express what made me come to terms with being an INFJ and life as an INFJ. And it started with my fascination for wanting to see the bigger picture and realize the deeper meaning of life. So I've been on this self-discovery journey for some years, and it started with astrology. One thing led to another. I discovered natal Vedic astrology, and I found so much information and confirmation within astrology enough to where I personally use it in my day-to-day. I use it to learn others, to dive deep into the psyche of others, and it works for me. So it wasn't until recently I began getting more into assessments, taking tests, and trying to, again, just learn myself. It's like this innate or insatiable craving to gain higher understanding, to get a better knowledge of self. I'm just really fascinated with psychology and philosophy and the different wonders of life. And I came across the 16 personalities, and I took the test and tested INFJ-T. And reading it was sort of, it was encouraging, but at the same time, you see a lot of posts about how rare it is and how unique you are. And I don't know, just my type, I'm not one to really boast or, be excited about being different, because I felt different all my life, right? So at some point you want to know why you do certain things or why you behave the way you do, but it's another thing to be told or for others to think of you as the oddball out or the select few. And I say that because you try and find similarities in others, and when you're trying to foster relationships, whether you're looking for friendships or you're in your dating life and you want to find someone who's quote unquote equally yoked, you're hoping that there's others who you can relate to. And learning of the INFJ-T type, it's like basically saying that it's rare that you're going to find other people like you and others that really accept you for who you are or really can simply understand you. And being misunderstood is something that I've struggled with, and I continue. That's one thing, that's my pet peeve, is being misunderstood. So when I got the results, I was like, maybe it's the way I answered the questions. Perhaps it's this certain test. Maybe I'm not actually an INFJ, although the explanation when it gave me the results, I really could relate to it. But I wanted to be sure before I start branching off and doing more research on INFJ or my personality type. So I did. There were several other sites you can go on to, some paid, some free. I found another test, and again, I tested INFJ, and it was pretty obvious on some of the questions that they asked. I mean, my answers were pretty much the same. I didn't really have to think about the answer, which I feel like it it gave me a pretty accurate result. And I try not to overthink it when I was taking a test. But anyway, my fascination for seeing the bigger picture and having a deeper meaning of life has always been something that I gravitated towards, even in my childhood. I always felt like I had this intuition or these psychic abilities and the ability to sense what people were thinking, and I took on the emotions of others, super empathetic, and easily absorbs the energy of others, which at times can be very draining, especially when you live in what I consider a toxic household. It's like you're never at ease. You're always, your mind is always in the battlefield. You're always, it made me super hyper vigilant. And there will be times when I'd be like, oh, I'm thinking of something, and I would get an answer. I would get a revelation, and it would almost be like I'm asking questions out loud and the universe is answering me. The best way I can explain it is to give an example. Like, I would be thinking of something, a question or something, and my mom would randomly mention the answer. She would give me the answer not knowing that I, was asking that question to myself. I would think about certain people and I get a phone call from them, or I'd see them, and it was things like that. And I was like, wow, I was always fascinated with synchronicity and how I felt that the power of the mind and being able to think things up. And now I'm just now learning what it is, and learning that I'm super intuitive. I see patterns. I see when things are not in order. And I like order. I don't like chaos. I like things to be the way they're supposed to be. Things to be in places that they belong. I don't know. I struggle with being this intuitive introvert, because I was also in sports. I was cheerleading. I play in the band, track. Just sports year round. So naturally, people are drawn to the athletes and the cheerleaders of the school. So it was hard balancing that introverted way and wanting to be to myself and in my thoughts, but also being this popular, how do I say, I don't know, just being in sports and having that attention. Also, the popularity, it was hard to juggle the two, because while I wanted to be social, while I wanted to have a connection to others and fit in, at the same time, I never felt that I did. I never felt that I fit in with others. I didn't feel like they were on the same wavelength. And now I'm beginning to understand why that is. I don't know, this test is really revealing a lot. I feel like I'm coming into some sort of awakening of some sort. And then to go on into college. So I ran track in high school. Me and my best friend at the time, we both got a track scholarship to run in college. So we went to school together, and we were roommates. And my freshman year, my second semester, I decided to move out. I no longer wanted to have a roommate. I felt like I didn't have my own space, my own life. I didn't have enough me time, and I craved that all 4 years in college. So I moved off campus into like an apartment dorm my second semester my freshman year. And in a way, I regret that because I didn't get to really, be fully immersed into the college experience and the day-to-day college life. But I preferred it. I preferred being to myself. So when I moved into this this off-campus dorm, I was in an apartment, so we shared a common living space, but I had the ability to go into my room, be off to myself, into my thoughts. And I just figured I wanted to grow up faster than, I wanted to be grown. I wanted to live on my own and have my own space. But really now what I see, or now that I'm, what I'm learning now is that I just craved solidarity, and I need a place where I can retreat and be to myself and recharge. Even in my college years, like going out, it took so much energy for me to go to parties or for me to go to different events. Like, I literally would have to talk and pep talk myself into going out and to a party. But once I'm there, I had a good time. I was able to socialize and interact with others, and I didn't have a problem interacting with others, but it took a lot of energy for me to get out. Once I was out, I had fun, but also it was enough for me to get me through the next few weeks. Like, I was good on the interaction. I just preferred to be to myself, be in my apartment, and do the things that I enjoy alone, which is weird because I enjoyed also having a partner. So while I enjoyed my alone time, I did well in relationships where I would want a person near me. I would want to be in the company of a companion, but it was different for friends. I didn't want to be around others that much. Maybe it was just that one person that I can devote my time and attention to, someone that I can build and a relationship with that understood me. And I think it was easier to have that one person, that companion, than it was entertaining other people who also was becoming of themselves, learning what life meant for them, and navigating that was a lot of pressure. And even now I still feel pressure to have relationships and to build and foster friendships, which is hard for me. One of my good friends from college, we became closer after I graduated, and sometime this year, I got to a point where I felt like the relationship wasn't feeding me. I didn't feel like she understood me, nor did she care to understand what it was that I was going through. I tried to explain to her, like, I would tell her I have this phobia or fear of interacting with others, and how I was this introverted person and I didn't want to be this way. And she would basically brush it off like, oh, you're tripping, you are outgoing, you're not introverted, you're this and you're that, you can thrive in certain relationships, stop thinking that way, be more positive, stop thinking like that. And I couldn't get through to her that I had some sort of social phobia where I don't know, I just really could not thrive in social environment. I felt like it was too much pressure for me to go out, make friends, keep these relationships, to foster these relationships and give my energy to others. It's not that I felt like it was too much work. I just don't feel like I had the skills and the tools to upkeep of these relationships. And this particular friend would tell me, you're overthinking it, just relax, it's not that serious. And I'm like, but you don't understand, it's easier said than done. But I'm not able to relax. I overthink. It's my personality. Not only am I a Virgo, and I have so much Virgo in my natal chart, just innately I overthink. I am very methodical, and I put so much pressure on myself to excel in all areas of my life, and it's not very easy for me to have foster these relationships. And she just didn't understand. I think there was times where she made me feel like she was, what's the word I want to use, like, where she just would blow me off or minimize what I say. And I got to a point where it's like, I don't feel supported, and I don't feel we have this connection, where I don't feel like we have the connection, that deeper meaning, that deep connection that INFJs crave with others and being understood. And because I don't feel like she took the time to really understand me like I did her, I had to let that friendship go. I had to let her know, I can no longer do this. I don't enjoy always feeling as if I have to explain or over-explain myself. I don't like that I can't be my true, authentic self with you, and that bothers me. And that's what makes it hard for me to have relationships, because I expect friendships, or I expect a lot out of people. I expect them to be honest and open the way that I am with others. And I wish to have an open and honest relationship with everyone. And I'm realizing that, there's a particular role that each person plays in your life, and it's hard for me to separate people into categories. Like, okay, this is the friend that I can go out with. This is the friend that I can talk business and finances with. This is the friend that I can talk about relationships and past hurts and those type of, intimate things about. I wish I could do that with all of my friends. And I'm realizing that it's hard to find. And I don't expect people to be perfect. I don't expect to have one friend for everything, but I do expect that in a friendship, you're putting your efforts to understand me, what makes me tick, what makes me angry, what, you're positioning yourself to better be a friend to me, because that's how I am for others. And I try to be non-biased and objective as a friend, and that's something that I expect in return. So friendships are hard for me. Relationships are hard for me, because I place such high value on authenticity and, again, loyalty. And once I lose that respect for you, once I see that you don't respect me enough to be honest with me, it's really hard for me to deal with you. And I think that's been the hardest part, because again, when you do so much self-reflection and doing the deep work and getting to know yourself, it makes it easier to understand others, because you understand, these type of human characteristics. It's a lot of times it's not their fault that they're that way, especially when you study astrology, or even Robert Greene in his latest book, The Laws of Human Nature. You get to understand that people are who they are, And the more you realize why they are the way they are and the reason they what makes them tick, it makes you more empathetic and accepting of them. But it makes it harder to have a relationship with that person because for me, I feel like I've been too accepting at times, to a fault, where I allow people, or red flags, I overlook red flags, or I allow people to abuse the relationship, or take me for granted because I see the greater good. And that's a gift and a curse in INFJ personalities, is that they can see both sides. They're more understanding of people and their nature, and it makes you more empathetic towards that person. And I don't know, it makes it harder to see them as a negative person or someone that's potentially toxic or does not belong in your life. And it's hard because, again, you crave these relationships where you crave these deep relationships where you connect on such a deep level that you give of yourself, and you let people into certain spaces. And it's hard. Like you gain love and acceptance of people, and it's hard to walk away. And that would be one of the things that I struggle with, is learning that people are who they say they are and believe them. And it's, get into, anyhow. So struggling in relationships is another thing. So again, being misunderstood is a pet peeve. So that's something that I'm working on, and I feel like in my dating life, trying to find ways of not being so stuck on the truth and people being truthful and respect and loyalty. I think that's going to be hard because a lot of people, they're showing you their highlight reels. They're showing you their best version of themselves. A lot of people are giving them their representative, not knowing that INFJs can see right through the facade, and they can see, when you aren't being genuine. And by nature, you want to be accepted. You want others to think of you highly, in high regard. So you're going to try and be what that person would deem as approvable, but you're not being your authentic self. And being able to see that, it makes it hard to get past the initial infatuation stages, because it's like, I see right through you. And you want a deeper connection with others, so it poses a challenge. But at the same time, there's beauty in knowing thyself. It makes it a more enjoyable experience, a more enjoyable journey, having that knowledge of self. It's added empathy and understanding for others. And I don't know, I look forward to learning more about this personality type and what the future has in store. So thank you all for listening. For those of you who are INFJ personalities, also INFJ-T, I'd like to see how you can relate, or how you relate to this video, and some of the things that you struggle with this personality type.